It's down to two candidates, one decision, with the future of Colorado Springs on the line.
Over the last 4 years, the political environment at City Hall has simply not been conducive to economic development and community development.
I've been increasingly disturbed by what's happening in our community, and in many cases by what's not happening.
Mary Lou Makepeace and John Suthers. Each one promises to be the best choice to lead our city, and there are differences.
I'm the only candidate running for mayor who has any municipal experience, and I think experience is so critical.
I believe I have the knowledge, the experience, the collaborative leadership style, and the passion.
Tonight, only on 11 News, The Showdown. One-on-one to win your vote for mayor. It's live, and it's right now on 11 News.
Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. I'm Don Ward. This is a special edition of 11 News, the mayoral debate. I'm joined tonight in our studio by John Suthers and Mary Lou Makepeace, the two candidates for mayor of Colorado Springs. First of all, thanks to both of you for being here.
Glad to be here, Don.
We appreciate your time. Now, on Election Day, April 7th, this is how the vote turned out. Mary Lou Makepeace, you got 23%. John Suthers, you got 47%. You were the top two finishers, and for that reason, you are in this runoff, and you're here tonight with us, and we appreciate it again. We will start with an opening statement from each of you. Now, on the ballot for May 19th, for the runoff, Mr. Suthers' name is listed first. That was decided by a random drawing, and that is the order we will use to get started tonight. So, Mr. Suthers, please tell us why you should be elected. You have 1 minute.
Thanks to KKTV and the Gazette for sponsoring this. I love Colorado Springs. I'm running for mayor because I love the city. I have a passion to see it succeed, and I believe on the basis of my career I've developed leadership skills that can be of great benefit to Colorado Springs in the coming years. We have some serious problems. We're a big city. For 15 years now, we've lagged behind the rest of Colorado in new job creation, and over that same 15 years, we've allowed our infrastructure to deteriorate significantly. We have to address these issues. I believe I have the leadership experience, the knowledge, the collaborative leadership style to bring the city forward, to address the problems at City Hall, change the political environment at City Hall, to begin to invest in infrastructure, and to aggressively pursue new job creation. In sum, I want to move Colorado Springs forward, and I'm asking all the voters of Colorado Springs to join me in that effort.
And that's time. Thank you very much, Mr. Suthers. Ms. Makepeace.
Yes, thank you so much, Don, for having us and giving us this opportunity to talk to the voters once again. Potholes, $1 billion in unfunded infrastructure needs, lack of successful economic development, no new jobs, bickering between the mayor and city council, a lack of trust by the citizens, special interest groups. Special interest groups are running this city. Special interest groups are ruining this city, and many of them are not even residents of Colorado Springs. It's time for a change. We can't continue the way we've been. If we continue to go down that path, we're going to have the exact same results. No successful economic development, no new jobs, nothing, except maybe some more potholes. So I want to give voices to the people who haven't been heard. It's time for the citizens' voices to be heard.
And that's time. Thank you very much for the two of you. We'll get things started now. And the next phase of this is some questions on video submitted by viewers and readers of the Gazette. We want to start with a question from a Gazette reader, so listen to this.
Transparency in government seems to be an ongoing issue. My question is, what specific steps would you take to foster transparency in city government and make information easier to find by the general public?
Ms. Makepeace, we'll start with your response. 1 minute,
please. All right. Transparency in government is very important, and the steps I would take would be, first of all, to make sure that my staff was totally briefed on open records and open meetings. I'm not sure that we've done that well in the past. I also am aware that there are many there's a lot of technology that cities use to be much more transparent to the voters. We have a very dysfunctional website at the City of Colorado Springs, and that is one easy fix that we can do to make sure that voters can log on and find out almost anything about the city government.
Mr. Suthers.
I have a great deal of experience as Attorney General in open records and sunshine laws, and I will make sure that every department of the City of Colorado Springs is fully up to snuff in terms of their compliance with open records laws. Secondly, the mayor's office will lead the charge for the rest of the city in terms of digital outreach. There's some tremendous examples around the country of cities that you can do much of the business, online, and you can get an amazing amount of information from the city about activities. The city keeps track of how many complaints they have about various things, and that's fully available to the public. We need to bring Colorado Springs in line with the very, leading municipalities in terms of access to information by the citizens.
All right, thank you both very much for that. We have one more video question, again, from a reader of the Gazette.
People keep saying we need more young people in politics. I agree. So if you are elected mayor, what specifically will you do to get young people interested in and involved with local politics?
All right, Mr. Suthers, you first on this one.
That's a great question. What we need to do is reach out to young people to get them involved in commissions and boards of the city, whether it be the Planning Commission, whether it be the Parks Board, various things like that. What doesn't work is for a young person to step forward and say, I'm a young person, elect me. You have to develop a background. I got elected district attorney at 36 because I've been on all kinds of boards and commissions, and people knew who I was. I had a base of support. And we've got to help young people develop that kind of base of support so that they're more attractive as a candidate running for city council or any other office.
All right, and Ms. Makepeace, your response, the young people.
Sure. Well, I think we should get all people involved in local government, but there's a lot of energy with the young professionals in this community, and it's energy that I think we can well use. I've met with them and told them that I would establish an advisory commission of young professionals to help me know what it is that they're dealing with, and then build on that to see where they can fit into the community. Maybe it's on a city commission, maybe it's on a business committee or something, but to really not take their hand and guide them, but to just exchange information so they know what's going on. I think that we're all appalled by the low turnout in the run-up election, less than 7% of young professionals. When they complained, I think they came face to face with a question, did you vote? And I think that that was a learning experience as well, that a big part of being involved is voting. That's a fundamental piece of democracy, and I heard a lot of people reflecting on that, a lot of young people.
Yeah, I think everyone can agree with that. We appreciate that, both of you, for those answers. The next part is a slightly different approach here. We're going to have a bit of a discussion, if you will. It's about a topic that we're going to bring up that comes up a lot. And once we start this, if you wouldn't mind, you can talk to me, you can talk to each other. We'll just kind of make it a round table, or half a round table.
Okay.
The first one, economic development. It comes up so often, keeping jobs here, bringing new jobs here. And we'll start with you, Mr. Suthers, to get things rolling.
I think this is probably the most important topic for the long run. We have simply not recovered from the private sector employment losses that we had in the high-tech industry. We've replaced them with jobs that don't pay as much, call centers, things like that. I think the next mayor, working with the business community, has to be incredibly aggressive in trying to promote the companies that are here, help them grow, aerospace, cybersecurity, all that sort of thing, and also be very aggressive about attracting new business here.
Well, I think the economy has changed a lot over the last few years, that where once we were going for assembly kinds of jobs, and while those are still valuable for a certain segment of the community, I think we need to also focus on what are the jobs of the future, what's growing, what's in demand, and cybersecurity is certainly one of those things. But I also think that we need to grow what we have right here in Colorado Springs. We have some fantastic companies here, both large and small, and we need to make sure that we are providing the kind of support services in the city so that they can be successful. It used to be that workers or the workforce went to jobs. They moved to a community because they got a job in the community. These days, jobs come to workers, and so we have to be very cognizant of our workforce as well to make sure that we have and are retaining talented workers, because that's how we're going to attract companies to come here.
Along these same lines, go ahead, Mr. Suthers.
Don, I'd spend probably the first 6 months probably with the Regional Business Alliance going out to local businesses of any size, more than 10, 20 employees, and asking what can the city do to help promote your growth and expansion in this city.
I did that many times when I was mayor, and what I found was it wasn't usually a big problem. It was usually some little problem that could be solved. You didn't have to change anything. You just had to say, you know, we've got a little bit too aggressive worker here, and what's being required makes no sense, or yes, we can change a traffic pattern or something. And they were incredibly grateful. But you know what? When somebody's planning to come here and start a business or transfer a business, who do they go to but other businesses that are already here and saying, what's it like? Do you have the talent that you need? What's a city like to work with? All of those kinds of things. And we need to make very sure that the citizen, that the city is fully cooperative, that we don't have archaic rules and regulations or things that get in the way and make it extra expensive to bring your company here.
Along the same lines, very quickly, how worried are each of you about Fort Carson and the potential loss of personnel there?
Well, it's something to worry about. We have become 50% reliant on DOD, 33% direct payroll, 17% defense industries. And of course, either of us as mayor is going to do absolutely the best job we can to preserve what we've got, militarily wise. But we also have to expend incredible effort to expand the private sector.
You know, about every 10 years there's a BRAC, and we all worry about it and get hyper. My position is that one of these days we're not going to be so lucky. We've been lucky over the years that we haven't experienced great loss. One of these years is going to be our turn, and we need to be right now thinking, what are some alternatives so that when that day comes, we don't have a big gap in our workforce, that our economic base is diversified enough that it isn't a big hit to us.
Another topic, sort of similar, or sort of related, at least tied in. In recent months, leadership teams from Colorado Springs have gone to some other cities, including Nashville, Tennessee, Austin, Texas, cities like those, to get an idea of how things can and should be done in certain elements of running a city. How do we make Colorado Springs one of the cities that's visited by the other people and say, hey, this is how they're doing it, we should do that too? Go ahead, Mr. Suthers.
We carry out kind of those priorities I talked about. We got to change the political environment so that City Hall and the mayor's office working together with City Council is seen as a positive. Begin to invest in infrastructure, begin to attract businesses like Sierra Nevada, who's moving out here, and I predict in very short course, given the natural beauty we've got, given the incredibly talented population of people we've got here, people will be looking to us as an example of how to get moving forward.
Do you think it's possible to become one of those cities?
Well, absolutely. I think we're on the cusp of some good things happening in Colorado Springs. But there is something we need to learn to do better, and that's to get along and work together. The city and the business community and the county, all of those entities, the school district, we need to learn or remember how to work together. We can't have one arm going off here and another arm going off there. This is a team effort, and we need to build that team, and that's one of my top priorities as mayor, is to bring those disparate groups together and say, where do we want to go? Let's go there, and I'll do this and you do that. I think that's the only way we can move forward.
We both kind of mentioned then in answering this question, the infighting that we know has happened between the mayor's office and City Hall. So what do you do about it?
Well, you bring a whole different leadership style. The mayor loves Colorado Springs. He's done some good things, but he's not had the kind of collaborative leadership style where he sits down, communicates with the council. We've had way too many nasty emails being exchanged and copied to the press. You know, this is hard work, Don, but it's a matter of sitting down, discussing your disagreements, working through those disagreements, capitalizing on your areas of agreement, and moving forward. If I'm the mayor, that's going to happen.
Are the wounds too deep, Ms. Makepeace, to sort of heal, or do you think that a new leadership, one or the other,
well, new leadership is absolutely critical. I'm a very collaborative leader, and I have in my first 30 days that I would sit down with council and we would talk to each other about what's gone wrong in the past, what do we need to fix, what's my job, what's your job. We need to know each other as people, not just the mayor's office or city council. I think you treat people with respect. You recognize that they're elected by the people of Colorado Springs. They have a legitimate role to play, and you respect their role, just as I would want my role to be respected. But we're all in it together. It's the ship of state. It's not the mayor's in the front and the council's in the back. We're all in it together. And that can only be done with the kind of relationship building, the respect that you show one another.
All right, it sounds like you're both committed to that idea, and we certainly appreciate that. Let's move on a little bit to earlier today. We started asking our viewers and the Gazette readers on social media to give us some of the questions they would like to ask you if they had the opportunity. And now on their behalf, we're going to ask some of those questions. So the first one, Jennifer asked on the KKTV 11 News Facebook page, do you like the City for Champions idea, and will you keep fighting for it? Ms. Makepeace, go ahead.
Well, there are 4 projects. I like 3 of them a lot. I think they're going to be great for Colorado Springs. My favorite is the Olympic Museum. That's going to be terrific. It's going to be terrific for tourism. It's going to be terrific for our kids and our family. I do not like the sports arena or whatever it's going to be in the park. It's totally undefined. It looks like there's the opportunity for the taxpayers to bear part of it. It's not defined enough to know if that's true or not. And I absolutely am opposed to it in its current state. And maybe when it's better defined down the road, maybe we can build some support for it. But absolutely, if there are any tax dollars used, including tax increment financing, it has to go to the vote of the people. This has been too contentious for the city to just move ahead and do it. I think we'd have an uprising.
What do you think?
Not much difference here. The 3 projects, the museum, the visitor center, and the sports medicine program at UCCS can be done without burdening local taxpayers. And they're going to happen, they're going to be good. I think that the Olympic Museum can be a catalyst for the development of an urban renewal area down there, southwest Colorado Springs. We simply have not seen any viable information come forward as to a downtown stadium or arena at this point in time. Now, if some private sector development comes along that wants to do it, that's a whole different ballgame. But if they're asking for any kind of taxpayer investment, I mean, they've got to prove that it's a good investment for the taxpayers. We're not there yet, and we're a long way from it.
There's been some pushback nationwide about various stadium projects that are publicly funded, and people saying, no, let's not do this anymore. Is there room for taxpayers to pay for a stadium in downtown Colorado Springs?
There's mixed results around the country. In South Carolina, Greenville, for example, moving the minor league team downtown was really a catalyst, and it was a very good investment.
But we don't have a minor league team
that wants to come down. That's exactly right.
Because they want to stay put, from what we've
from what we know. But you need some sort of catalyst like that.
Same thing, same thought?
Well, I'm not convinced we need this stadium in the first place, but you know, it's a lovely location, and I think there are things that can happen down there. A children's museum, a science museum, perhaps a music venue. I just don't think we've had that kind of community conversation that would engender what I would consider a better proposal, but it could also engender community support, which the proposal does not have at the moment.
Understood. Okay, next question from Sheila on the Gazette Facebook page. Will you allow recreational marijuana shops to open in Colorado Springs, or will you be behind a push to do so? Let's start with you, Mary Lou Makepeace.
Well, yesterday I announced that I have come to the position where I would support that. And it's been a process as I gathered information going around the community. I would say that I entered this whole thing not knowing much about marijuana. I still don't know a whole lot about marijuana in terms of personal usage. But the citizens of Colorado Springs did vote in favor of allowing recreational marijuana in Colorado Springs. And council, as they were allowed to do under the legislation, opted not to do that, in effect overruling the citizens' vote. So that's a point one, and one that sticks in the craw of a lot of people, whether they're for or against the use of marijuana. We have now a track record of a couple of years where other cities up and down the Front Range have allowed that. The world hasn't come to an end. They're doing fine. They've learned some lessons. I think we can benefit from mistakes that they have made. We can learn some lessons from things that have worked. We do have, and this is the stickler, is we seem to think if we don't allow the sale of recreational marijuana, we've somehow dealt with the problem. The reality is that we have a huge black market for marijuana in Colorado Springs. And there is no regulation, there is no monitoring of quality, of safety, any of those things. So we have the opportunity now to put regulations in place, much as we do with alcohol and tobacco. We can regulate the industry and perhaps get a handle on the black market enterprise here.
Mr. Suthers, I need to
well,
move
just
in.
let me say one more thing.
Okay.
And we can use the money.
And we can use the money. Mr. Suthers, some compelling arguments. What do you think?
Don, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Let's not be naive about this. Denver, which has embraced recreational marijuana, has a huge black market. The Attorney General's office just indicted a bunch of folks that were exporting tremendous amounts of marijuana to states that did not recognize legalized marijuana. As a result of the public policy positions we've taken in Colorado, we have a higher rate of adolescent use of marijuana and adult use of marijuana. I think we need to wait and see how this experiment plays out in a few more years. I also have to tell you, to the extent you think you've taken that legalizing marijuana takes cartels out of the business, that's also very naive. The cartels are all over Colorado, and they're now pushing cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine to young marijuana users. This is a very complicated drug picture. The fact that we have such conflict between state and federal law, until that gets resolved, this is pretty much a mess. So I'm not there yet, but I want to make it perfectly clear. If the voters of Colorado Springs vote for recreational marijuana, they did not before. They voted for Amendment 64, which allowed the city council to opt out. Our city council opted out, as have most of the communities in Colorado, the vast majority. But if the voters of Colorado approve it, I will implement it and the regulations to the very best of my ability.
Yes, a rebuttal. Go ahead.
Well, not a rebuttal so much as a question.
Okay.
Would you support then putting it on the ballot?
If the council voted to put it on the ballot, I would let it go to the ballot.
All right, fair enough. Next question is from Tom on our Facebook page. What is your viewpoint on stormwater funding, regional authority versus the city funding its own needs? Mr. Suthers, go ahead.
At this point in time, while I understand the benefits of regional, I don't think we can go to the voters with a stormwater proposal and then go again with a city infrastructure proposal, roads, things like that. I think we need to devise a strategy, the mayor with the council, with a lot of public input. How are we going to address our entire infrastructure problem? The roads are the people's #1 concern. Stormwater is a second concern. We have to address them both, but I think it probably at this point in time has to be done on a city basis, but fully cooperating in terms of planning with other regional communities. But I don't think you go to the voters on two different sorts of issues.
How would you handle it, Ms. Makepeace?
Well, I think it has to be regional, although there was some pushback about the proposal that was on the ballot before. The issue of stormwater is always presented as a problem. And I know that there are communities who have taken stormwater and the runoff and have figured out how to turn that into recreational use. And I think that's the direction we should be striving for. I certainly don't have the answers of what exactly that would be, like on a Monument Creek. We had a proposal for a kayak run in the SKIP program. Maybe that's the direction we want to go. Council recently approved, I don't know if they called it a resolution or an intent to use some of the SKIP bonds, to use the money that the city currently expends on stormwater and what utilities currently expends, and use that to get rid of the backlog. That doesn't answer the question of how we go forward with the yearly needs and maintenance. But I think that, like potholes, stormwater is something that we have to do some immediate remediation so that we don't have more floods and we don't have more property damage and possibly loss of life.
All right. We have another question here, another social media question. Brief answers to this one, if you would, as we get close to the end of our time here. This is from Mary on the Gazette Facebook page. What is your plan to control crime in our community? What would you do to revitalize blighted neighborhoods? Ms. Makepeace, go ahead.
Well, we have a fabulous police force in my mind. I think Chief Carey is an outstanding police chief, and I think he's got a good force. The whole issue of crime, there's so many factors that contribute to crime, and part of it is the economy, part of it is education, all of those things. The economy needs to improve. We need to make sure that we have young people who are in healthy kinds of programs so that they have interests other than troublemaking.
I need to wrap you up there so we can get a response from Mr. Suthers as well. Thank you so much.
We do have a good police department. I, as Attorney General, was head of the Police Officer Standard and Training Board, and I would submit that the police department in Colorado Springs is better educated, better trained than any large city department in Colorado. Let's be blunt about it. We've 2/3 of our crime problem is in 1/4 of our community, the southeast quadrant. We need to put resources there to help those folks deal with the crime issues they've got. We've got to expand the substation. You go down there on a Saturday night and people are handcuffed to tables and chairs. That's number one. And then we also have to, continue to community police, involve the community in making, police force can't be all the eyes that are needed. We have to continue to get the community involved in crime prevention efforts. We've got a great police department. We can successfully do it.
Thank you so much. I want to have time for both of you to have a final say here. So, Mr. Suthers, you go first so that Ms. Makepeace, you have the last word. So go ahead.
You know, our new mayor and our city hall is not in and of itself going to make this city great. It's the people of Colorado Springs that are going to make our city great. But for the people of Colorado Springs to reach their full potential, they need a city government that helps them reach that potential and isn't a detriment to that. And that's what I want to bring to Colorado Springs. I have a vision for Colorado Springs that we'll all feel as good about the infrastructure and amenities of our community as we do the immense natural beauty that surrounds us. And we'll be able to expand private sector employment opportunities to the point where we'll have confidence that our children and grandchildren, if they want to live in Colorado Springs, can find employment that meets their education and their capabilities. I have the management and leadership experience managing large organizations like the City of Colorado Springs. I can be a good steward of taxpayer dollars. I'll end where I began, Don. I want to get this city moving, and I'm asking for the support of the citizens of Colorado Springs at the ballot box to help in that effort.
John Suthers, thank you very much. Mary Lou Makepeace, your final statement.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for this whole evening. You know, it's time that citizens' voices were heard in Colorado Springs. We have, as I said earlier, an undue influence by special interests. I represent no special interests. I have not made a deal with the devil. My only interest is the citizens of Colorado Springs. And I want to be your next mayor, and I want to give you your voice back.
Thank you both. We appreciate your time for being here with us tonight. Once again, thank you to both candidates for being with us. It has certainly been enlightening. We appreciate their time. You know, the best decision that any of us can make is an informed decision. So if you want to get more information on voting, go to kktv.com and click where it says Find It. Another great resource for information on the candidates and the issues, some of which they talked about tonight, is the Gazette's voter guide, gazette.com/elections. We'll be back with a regular edition of KKTV 11 News tonight at 10. For now, though, I'm Don Ward. Good night, and thanks so much for watching.
Thanks, Mary Lou.
Thank you. Thank you.